Hey folks, 11 games until we get Tampa. That's when the games start to mean something. So our Leafs are on cruise control. Nothing to talk about. Everything's set. Everyone's happy, right? Of course not. It's getting close to the wire now. We're starting to get a little bit nervous, and we're going to break it all down for you right here on the OZone.
You're in the offensive zone. Your place for Leafs hockey.
Hey folks, welcome to the OZone. That's Coach. That's Katie. I'm the Devo. We're here to talk all things Leafs. I'm coming to you from the HQ of the OZone here in the 6, right in the heart of Toronto. Coach, where are you coming from today?
For the time being, guys, I'm still here in the U.S. headquarters in Texas, but Mrs. Coach just sold this place, so maybe I might head up to Paducah, Kentucky. We got a subscriber base up there. You guys need a roommate up there?
All right, Katie, how's the east side today?
Well, we're a little older, a little wiser, and it is a horrific day in Toronto. It's 3 degrees, pouring rain, going sideways, feels like -6. Coach, you're got to get ready for that weather over the next couple of years, and that's summertime in England.
Yeah. All right, folks. Listen, you know the drill. Hit subscribe, ring the bell. You'll never miss any content. Also, like and share the video. It helps spread the word. Leave a comment. We're going to be opening the mailbag soon. The more comments you leave, we're going to go back in time. We'll find them. We'll dig them all up, and we'll bring it out on the show. We'll feature you. We can't wait. All right. Listen, we got a lot to talk about. We haven't really done a full schedule pod in about a week. We're 3-1 since the last time. Ugly loss to the Islanders, but a nice bounce back versus Florida. Murray's improved his play, right? I guess so. And the forwards and D combos, they're all over the place. There's lots to talk about, lots to get to, so let's get into it. Coach, we'll start with you. What'd you like about the past week? What didn't you like? Share your thoughts with the folks.
Yeah, I will. Thank you, Devo. That's why we're here. So, to start the week, since our last pod, we were coming off that we snuck out a point against Colorado. That was a tough game. Colorado was all over us, snuck out a point. And, KD, you and I were going back and forth about should Samsonov get a back-to-back game going into or go from Colorado and play the first end of that back-to-back against Carolina. He did, and he was really good. That was a big win against Carolina. Leafs have not lost 3 in a row all year, and they would have if they lost that Carolina game. So big game, 5-2 win over a really tough opponent we've got coming up here in a bit. And then they go back-to-back, and thank goodness for Matt Murray. And you have not heard me say that very often this year. But he was terrific against Ottawa. So many saves. Gave up 4, but, man, he had 52 shots plus the overtime, and he was good in the shootout too. I didn't, yes, blowout against the Islanders and then came back and beat a desperate Florida team. I like that too. It seems like we're getting a bit more set. I wasn't thrilled, though. If you watched the last pod, I was an advocate of Samsonov playing a lot. Ilya is my man, after all. And I think he had won the crease. So you get him into a rhythm. What I didn't count on was, A, his wife was expecting. I suppose the old coach should have known that, but I didn't. And B, he was banged up. They said he had some minor injuries, but he wanted to go. Why would we ever put the guy in the crease when we got 2 other guys that could play if he's banged up? That's not an excuse. He wasn't good against the Islanders, but man, we should be all hands on deck to get guys healthy
100%.
for the playoffs. I was surprised. I was disappointed at that. So
anyway, I agree.
All in all, pretty good week.
Yeah, not bad. Just want to hit on one point there about Murray. We had sort of talked about it in the last pod. He'd been coming on, not necessarily getting the numbers weren't really backing it up, but he was actually playing some pretty good hockey in general. Nice to see him have a really quite a gem of a game the other night. All right,
yeah,
Katie,
it's good to see him rewarded for it, right, Devo? Because he had played well against Vancouver, gave up 4 against Ottawa, and gave up 4. but he was playing well. At least in Florida, he only gave up 2, so the numbers are starting to come there
That's
as well.
right. I agree with that 100%. KD, what do you think?
Yeah. So I mean, we're still trying to figure out synergy on the defensive side, and we have trials and tribulations there. And I will point out the attention to detail from the forwards has been lacking really over since the trade deadline. There's not a lot of structure on the back check and through the neutral zone at times. There's way too many odd man rushes, way too many turnovers. So I'd like to see that tighten up as we go. But I think it's nice to see 2 serviceable goalies, and I think the timing of Samsonov having the baby works great. I think you tell him to take as much time as he needs, and he comes back, and then he can play whenever he wants. So I think that works well. Murray's getting a bit of confidence back there, so feeling good. Just hopefully we can start to work out the actual pairs. I think we'll get to that as far as the D goes, and I really like to see the forwards start to bear down a little bit more and start playing a little bit tighter hockey. Even I hate to say it, but the top 6 have been good offensively, but not so good defensively. So we need them to start getting into playoff mode as we go, I think.
Yeah, I think to your point, and we touched on this the other night. I think Coach Keefe sees the same thing. And what happens when Coach Keefe sees that? 15 starts creeping up the lineup, and you start seeing him in top 6 minutes. So I think that speaks to that completely. I don't love the blender guys. Maybe a game or 2, but we've not really seen it settle down really since the trade deadline. Hated Liljegren's game versus the Isles. The Leafs were in control of that game, and then he kind of blows up, and they didn't have a great response. Look, you can't win them all. Every mistake, teams make mistakes, but it just seems when the Leafs start getting a little bit worried and their forwards aren't engaged, every mistake turns into a goal against, it seems like.
Devo, how do you think that discussion goes in the coach's room? We need to shake up the top 6, guys. We need more scoring. Let's see. Kerfoot hasn't scored in about 25 games. Let's put him up there.
But it's remarkable because for the whole season, it's just like he's barely hanging on to a 4th line spot, and then you put the lines in a blender, and boom, he's the coach's kid. It happened. This exact same thing happened last year, guys. The exact same thing, right? So
he did score the other night, and he did get the winner in that marathon shootout too, which I just think everyone else tired the guy out.
Agreed. To continue on, I love 34's game versus the Panthers, and I've liked the PK. Hall matters to this team, guys. Number 3. I know there's a lot of folks saying that Schenn is the answer, and we'll take Hall's lineup spot in the lineup. In Schen's last 5 NHL games, he's averaged under 17 shifts per game and 12 minutes and under 12 minutes a game. Hall's about 24 minutes or 24 shifts, 19 minutes a game. He's also trusted as a top penalty killer on this team. I don't see Schenn taking those minutes, guys. I don't. All right, so we've talked about this since the trade deadline. Everything's been in a blender. Not just the forwards, the D2, D pairs, goalie rotation, everything. It's all over the place. Look, O'Reilly's out with his finger injury, so there's not much we can do about that. But last week, Keefe and Dubas both said O'Reilly is expected back before the playoffs, so that's some good news. I don't think there's any significant worry there. But how do you think this starts to line up and smooth out, KD? We can't keep spinning like this. How do you think, once O'Reilly gets back, how do you think things are going to line up?
I mean, I really do think he needs to play in the top 6. I think at least you start that way. I know people are talking about, let's make it 3 good lines. And O'Reilly's a great 2-way player. He's not a guy who's going to create a lot and drive the line offensively if he moves down to the 3rd line. It's just going to be a better defensive line. I like him up, moving Tavares off to the wing. I think that makes the 2nd line much better in their own end. And then it allows you to really kind of stack that top, the top group and make it a real matchup nightmare. I mean, I think that's what we want. We've played seasons and we've in the last few years, and we've constantly tried to match up against other teams. And I think you want to stack those lines. I think you want to put the two best players, Matthews and Marner, in the best position for them to be successful. And I think that's the way the team is going to be successful. So I like the idea of sticking those two guys together. I think by putting O'Reilly on the second line center, you move Tavares over, and then you have like a very, very solid and potentially productive second line, and you let other teams try and figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad way to go. Certainly, we've seen Matthews have his best seasons with 16 on his wing. Coach, what do you think?
I'm with you on some, maybe not on some others. Look, Dubas goes out and gets a guy with tons of playoff experience, right? Tons of playoff experience. And it doesn't seem smart to put him on the third line, but I would put that guy, the guy with the most playoff experience, I would put him on the third line. Of course, the guy I'm talking about is Calle Yarncroc, who has more playoff games than Ryan O'Reilly. He's got 75 playoff games, pretty much all with Nashville. So you see what I did there? Look,
Clever.
I'm with you. I would have O'Reilly in the top six with Tavares. I would actually have Marner on that line, just for the mere fact that for the 5 or so games that O'Reilly played, most of those when he was playing on that line was with Marner. They got a little chemistry. I don't know if you remember, O'Reilly had that hat trick against Buffalo. Kev, you might have been there for that one.
I was. I saw
yeah. So that's what I would do. And the best of Nylander this year was playing with Matthews, and he was playing with a banged up Matthews. So Matthews is going to be even better. The challenge, though, I think, guys, isn't so much that. I don't really care if Marner's on the first or second line. It's Marner or Nylander. But the challenge here is Michael Bunting. I'm not moving Yarncroc down because Bunting is a better fit with Matthews. It's more that he's a worse fit in the bottom six, Bunting. He's out of place, guys. He doesn't play that bottom six style. And frankly, I think one of you guys mentioned this on our little text. I worry more about his discipline in the bottom six, trying to do too much, versus just playing his game and staying on the ice and not getting his nose so dirty when he's in the top six.
Right.
He has really tried to walk the line of being his own self, and yet going over, yelling at refs and taking dumb penalties and that kind of thing. I think he's got to play top six just to kind of rein him in and get something out of him. Yep. So that's why I'd move Yarncroc down. Ryan O'Reilly is a great player, and we're so much better with him. It's like a bit of an embarrassment as to where you put him. We need him back, but that's what I would do. So I'm with you there, Kev.
Coach, I'm 100% with you. I think you've been listening to me all year when I've been talking about Nylander playing up with Matthews. And 16 playing back with Tavares and O'Reilly. Listen, there's no question that when 16 plays with 34, it's magic. But I think when you look at the sum of the parts and like getting everyone going, that second line with Tavares, O'Reilly, and Marner is just it's a sick line in all aspects.
Theoretically, that would become your first line.
Yeah, however you want to match it. And that's fine. I mean, that's no disrespect to Matthews. I think it's worked out.
Well, let's hope he takes offense and does something about it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I think
not that he takes offense and goes and signs in Phoenix in 2 years. Not that kind of offense.
Regardless, I think stacking the top two lines, we're all in agreement on that. It means 2/3 of the game essentially. You're not going to be getting caved in on the second line, and this is a key point about this Ryan O'Reilly on the third line. And if you were to do that, remember last year, that second line wasn't great. I mean, it put up some decent offensive numbers, but it certainly wasn't stout. And it couldn't be trusted in all situations, and it fell apart at times. And I don't think we have the studs on the D on the back end to really handle a lot of mistakes up front. I love stacking those top two lines. I think it makes us way better. I also think the talent we have on the bottom six can skate. They're a lot faster than they were last year. I think you can cobble together a third line that's going to be effective. I think that's what they need to do with these last 11 games, is come up with the recipe for what that third line is going to look like. I think that's how they got to do it. All right, sticking with the forwards, it's been expected all year that young Matthew Nyes is going to sign a contract with the team as soon as his college season ends. And that could be as soon as this week, folks, or
tonight.
It could be tonight. Yeah, it all depends on how the Gophers do, really. But Coach, let's start with you. Do you put Nyes in the lineup right away, and more importantly, does he play versus Tampa?
Yeah, he gets a game for sure. That's just common practice for a guy signing out of college. The carrot you dangle is that you're going to play an NHL game this year, so he burns a year of his entry-level contract, gets him to RFA and UFA a year sooner. So if he signs, it's with the promise he's going to play a game. He will play. And I'll play him in more than one game. Let's see what we have. Okay? So I think we got a really solid 12-forward unit right now with Simmons the 13th. Can he go make an impact? Because although our bottom six is pretty solid and they can all skate and they're younger, right? And we should be even versus Tampa. I don't know yet that we're going to get a lot of production out of that bottom six. Could he make an impact? So you got to go find out, and there will be some excitement around it and all that stuff. However, the bigger question, does he play against Tampa? Fellas, we're in trouble if he plays against Tampa. We talked, and the whole goal at the trade deadline was to make us more difficult to play in the playoffs. Okay? Lafferty does that. Achari for sure does that. Yep. The D that they've acquired do that, right? In quantity, maybe more than the quality we would have liked. But I don't know that a guy who will have played somewhere between 3 and 6 NHL games going into the playoffs does that for you. We're in trouble just like we were in trouble when Nick Robertson drew in against Columbus.
Yep.
You know why? Because we weren't scoring. We had to try something. That was a desperation move. So I don't think he plays against Tampa. I think he stays up, but I don't think he plays. I hope he doesn't play because that would mean we're in trouble.
KD, what do you think?
Well, I'm cheering for St. Cloud State tonight. If we see we see Minnie go down tonight, he potentially could be around for 10 games. You get to see him. The problem is that the Final Four is on April 6th and 7th, so the soonest we can get him is the 8th, meaning he gets maximum 3 games. I think Coach is right on there. If he only plays a handful of games, I doubt very much he plays. I don't think you want him to play. I doubt very much he's going to be able to show that he can play. So you probably do it. It may be a little different if they lose tonight and he gets 8, 9, 10 games in and acclimates himself and can go. But I think I think we're looking at our forwards tonight with at O'Reilly, and I think what we have tonight is what we're going to have in the come playoff time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, guys. I feel bad for this kid in a way. He's being hyped like he's a top draft pick. I'm excited for him. I'm intrigued. I'd like to see what he can do amongst NHL men. Will his game translate immediately? Maybe it will. Maybe he has the ability, the skill set, the toolbox to make an impact immediately. But I'm certainly not going to jump to any conclusions. Let's get a chance to look at him a little bit. I'm not going to put him in the playoff lineup at this point. He's got to make a case, and there's very little runway for him to do that.
Last guy who did that for the Leafs that came in, made an impact out of college, Tyler Bozak. Hey, fellas, this is a bit different roster than the one Tyler Bozak broke in with.
Sure.
And even just him playing a game or two and then being able to practice and be one of the Black Knights, like that actually is that'll be great for him. That probably accelerates his ability to make the team next year.
Yeah, agreed. For sure. I think that's a great point. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. Keith obviously listened to Coach from our last pod, deciding to rest Gio. I don't think Coach was the only one making those pleas, but since then he's rested Brody and Riley. Brody was a little bit banged up. All three of us have been calling for the D to get some rest, and we've got enough of them back there to do this. So let's do it. We're happy about this. This has also allowed us to see all the 8 blue line candidates in action. We now have a better sense of what we've got back there. So as we look ahead to Tampa, as we're going to be doing a lot of this, folks, who's in, who's out? KD, we'll start with you. Go ahead.
So there's 2 things that we get when we play against Tampa. One, they're become very heavy and very tough, and they believe, as when they play, that they can push and bully Toronto off the ice. That and because of they are not the fleetest of foot as far as teams go these days. It sort of suggests that you like to see Schenn in there at least in home games. I think that makes a lot of sense. Schenn being so big and physical and be able to handle himself. And if you have the last change, I don't foresee a lot of matchup issues. So I'd like to see Schenn at least play home games. For the rest of it, I think you could rotate that around. If you want to rotate Hall out a bit, that's fine, or Liljegren out a bit. But I would like to see Schenn in there a little bit. Against a Boston or New Jersey, I get a little nervous maybe with that sort of speed coming at you. But certainly for Tampa Bay, if they're going to try and be the bullies, we might want to add our own.
Yeah, all right, Coach.
So just a point of clarification. Yes, we all wanted Gio to sit. Only one of us here said he would sit. And a couple other guys said he would play all 82.
Yeah.
So should Justin Hall is really what it comes down to. And he's polarizing. And he's polarizing sometimes within the 3 of us on our little text thing, not to mention Leaf Nation, right? And it becomes even more of a question if, like KD is saying, you put Schenn in. Because there's 4 guys that are playing every game, guys. Riley, Brody, McCabe, and Gio. Those guys are playing every game. There's 4 other guys for 2 spots, right? Schenn, Liljegren, Hall, and Gustafsson. I don't think Gustafsson plays unless you play 7, right, where he could be the second power play guy. So if of those 3, if you're going to play Schenn, then Hall or Liljegren sits. So a year ago, it was kind of the same thing, not with as good a decor, although we had Muzzin. But Liljegren played the first 2 games instead of Hall. Hall was scratched. And so what's happened since then, Liljegren is a much better player this year than last, to the eye test. Hall arguably is worse this year than last. So you'd say, okay, well, Liljegren's in. I don't think he is. As much as maybe sometimes it pains me to say this, I think Hall is in. I think Hall's probably in ahead of Schenn. I don't think Justin Hall's the best penalty killer on the team. Even if you take forwards out of it, Marner's our best penalty killer.
Sure.
Probably next. I think Giordano's our best defensive penalty killer. But Hall gets more minutes, mostly because he's really the only guy in the mix on the right side that's on his strong side. And KD, you've been a big advocate of this. Brody, maybe even a better penalty killer than Hall. But he's forced to play his offside, and that weakens what you can do out there, especially in terms of clearing the puck. But all that said, I think the mindset now is to be big and strong and defend well. The roster's been made over like that, and Hall lends itself a little bit better than Liljegren to that. Whereas if you needed a puck-moving guy, which you probably do in a quicker series against Boston, New Jersey, that kind of thing, I think Liljegren stands a better chance. It's going to be interesting, guys. If everybody stays healthy, somebody really good, better than they were last year, is going to sit. So, I mean, it's a good spot to be, I guess.
It's weird. I'm going to give a plug to Justin Bourne of The Athletic. He had a great article on the D this past week. We talked about it a little bit. He also had a great line in it where he said, I imagine Kyle Dubas looked at Gustafsson as something of a fully formed Rasmus Sandin. We had sort of texted about that back at the trade deadline. Sandin, he didn't develop. He didn't turn into what I think everyone thought he could have. He was overrated. They parted ways with him. He certainly wasn't going to play if he was on the
even if he did develop.
Yeah,
he's not a playoff type player.
No,
like
that's 100%.
Is he more talented than Luke Schenn? Of course.
Yes.
But Luke Shen is 6'4" and leads the league in hits every day.
Yeah.
Right? He stands there and he takes up a lot of space. He's not going to get muscled off the puck.
When you look at playoff hockey too, and for all the people who hate Hall or love Hall or whatever, watch when he plays, or watch any of the D when they play. When you see a D being able to pin opposing player in the back behind the net or in the corner and take him out of the play, that is playoff hockey. You need to do that a lot. One thing that Hall is pretty good at is that he can stop the cycle and he can take his man out of the play.
That's 100%.
And that's what that's what we have to do. He is the holy hand grenade holder at times and looks pretty darn awkward. But you have to learn how to play playoff hockey, and that's being physical, taking your man out of the play. And he's actually more than serviceable but that's probably why he does get the play. Maybe not all the games, maybe not all this series as much, but what you need with that type of hockey, you need that in the playoffs to win. That's what it's going to take. Right?
Everything he does, he could do if his stick was turned back over the other way like a ringette stick. Right? It's when the puck's on his blade where we have problems.
Sometimes he is wearing a ringette stick when the puck's on his blade.
Listen, I'm going to throw one other little wrinkle in here in terms of a possibility, because I've said this before, but I'm starting to really believe it. I think if things start to get tight in that first series with Tampa, I could really see the Leafs going with 7D in the postseason, and I tell you why. If things start getting tight and they need more offense, they're going to start Nylander, Matthews, Marner are going over the boards more often, so you don't need 12 forwards. And I also think when you look at the group of guys you've got back there, you got a guy like Shen that, as Katie, I think you pointed out, you did too, Coach. He's the kind of guy you want in action. Can he play 20 minutes a game? I don't think so. I really don't. So he's going to be a situational guy that you bring in, and then you rest him for most of the rest of the game. I see that's the way this lineup's going to work if it goes deep and if it gets challenging with Tampa. If they're able to outscore them and outskate them early on in this series, they'll roll with the 6 guys and it'll be easy peasy. But I just don't see it happening. That's how I call it anyway.
Well, one thing which is also interesting on that, if you say, well, let's forget about the D, think about the forwards. Now that you have like the Achari and you've added Lafferty and you have O'Reilly, and then you could throw in there Kerfoot and Marner. Those are all players. Oh, and Yarncroc. Those are 6 guys. All can play different positions and all can play up and down that lineup. So they really do have the ability to play 11 forwards a lot better rather than being out of sync. They have all sorts of guys who have that ability to play over. So that might allow them to play 7 rather than the other way where you say, well, we better not play 7 because it'll screw the forward lines up.
I think bringing in a bunch of guys that can play center and wing, no problem. There was a lot more to that than just a fast guy like Lafferty or a guy with playoff experience like Achari. I think this is leading to the option to go with 7D because I don't think the quality was there for the Leafs, so they went quantity, and that's how they did it. All right, folks, there you have it. 11 games left until we lace them up versus Tampa, and the coach starts carrying a defibrillator around.
He ain't lying.
As we keep marching down the stretch, one thing is certain. You know we've always got you covered. We've got you covered right here on the OZone.